People will test you. They'll insult you, ignore you, cut you off, lie to you, use you, and every time you'll be tempted to react, to get angry, to fire back, to feel disrespected. But what if you didn't? What if there was a way to remain calm, unshaken by anyone or anything? The Stoics believed it wasn't just possible, it was essential, because your power is in your response. And once you master this, no one will ever control you again. 1. Anger is a choice. Anger often feels like a reflex, like it happens to you, suddenly, instantly, without control. But that's the illusion, because anger is not a storm that strikes without warning. It is a fire that you feed. The Stoics taught this clearly. You are not a slave to your emotions. You are not a puppet pulled by provocation. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, surrounded by critics and conspirators, wrote, "You always have the power to have no opinion." This is radical power. To receive the insult, to feel the sting, but not let it decide who you become in the next moment. You don't control the words someone uses. You don't control their tone, their timing, their intent. But you do control what you do next. And that moment, the moment between stimulus and response, that is where your power lives. Most people react because they believe the insult, because some part of them fears it might be true. Their ego rises, their pride flares, their insecurity screams. So they lash out, they retaliate, they lose control. But the Stoic pauses and asks a better question. Why does this disturb me? Not how dare they say that, not what's wrong with them, but what in me is so easily shaken? If the answer is ego, if the answer is fear, if the answer is vanity, then the Stoic lets it go. Because he understands this truth. The insult is not the fire. You are. And nothing burns unless you ignite it. The Stoic doesn't deny anger exists, but he refuses to become its servant, because anger is rarely strength. More often, it is weakness masquerading as power. Anyone can react, anyone can rage, but it takes mastery to remain unmoved. It takes training to choose silence over shouting. It takes wisdom to understand that your peace is your responsibility, not the world's obligation. So next time you feel the spark, don't reach for the gasoline. Reach for your higher self. Breathe. Observe. Choose. Because anger isn't something that happens to you. It's something you allow. And once you stop feeding it, it has no power left to take. 2. No one can offend you without your permission. You think you're offended because of what they said, but the Stoics would tell you it's not their words that hurt you. It's your interpretation of those words. The insult isn't the dagger. You are the one who hands it to yourself. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That sounds harsh, because it's true. You are not a victim of every comment, every tone, every opinion. You are not required to feel hurt just because someone wants to hurt you. You always have a choice, to rise above or to fall into their trap. Most people fall. They get angry, they defend, they explain, they spiral. But the Stoic stands firm. Why? Because he knows, when you get offended, you give them power. You let someone else's voice determine your emotional weather. And once they know they can trigger you, they own you. The Stoic doesn't respond with revenge. He responds with reality. He asks, is what they said true? Then thank them. It's feedback. Is it false? Then ignore it. It doesn't belong to you. Let them mock. Let them misunderstand. Let them laugh. That's their burden to carry, not yours. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. It's that simple, and that hard. But if you practice it, if you train your mind to pause, to reflect, to disengage from offense, you become something incredibly rare, untouchable. Not because you've hardened your heart, but because you've strengthened your mind. The world will always test your composure, but if you don't hand over your peace, no one can take it. 3. Judgments are optional. You think it's the event that makes you suffer, but it's not. It's your judgment of the event. The Stoics were clear. Nothing outside of you can truly disturb you. Only your thoughts about it can. That long line at the airport? Not good or bad. That harsh message? Not good or bad. That unexpected loss? Not good or bad. It just is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. That's the hard truth. It's not life that causes you pain, it's your resistance to how life unfolds. You say, this shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't talk to me like that. That shouldn't have gone wrong. But the Stoic says, it is happening. Now how will I respond? The first mindset creates suffering. The second creates strength. Your judgments are optional. You don't have to get angry in traffic. You don't have to be devastated by criticism. You don't have to label things as unfair. You can learn to say, this is what is. Not what I wanted, not what I expected, but it is. And from that acceptance comes peace. And from that peace comes power. The world outside you is chaotic, but your judgments, that's your territory, that's your kingdom, that's your responsibility. So start there. Before you label something as bad, pause. Before you assume the worst, breathe. Before you judge, choose. Because what you think about a thing is more powerful than the thing itself. 4. Don't take anything personally. Most of what people say has nothing to do with you. Their words, reflections of their inner world, their insecurities, their frustrations, their fears. Yet we absorb them like truth. We carry their judgments like weight. We internalize their opinions as identity. But the Stoics knew, nothing that comes from another person belongs to you. It is their projection, not your reality. Epictetus said, remember that it is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but your opinion that these things are insulting. You think you're being attacked, but more often, you're just standing in someone else's storm. They might be having a bad day. They might feel threatened. They might envy your peace. They might not even be thinking at all. So why take it personally? You are not a mirror. You are not here to reflect their emotions back to them. You are the mountain, unmoved by the wind, grounded, still, strong. When you stop taking things personally, you stop bleeding from wounds that were never meant for you. You stop wasting energy defending yourself from ghosts. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to correct every lie. You don't need to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to live with integrity. So let them speak. Let them gossip. Let them disapprove. Their behavior is a reflection of them. Your peace is a reflection of you. And once you realize that, you stop reacting,
and start rising. 5. Let reality be what it is. You suffer most when you demand that life be different than it is. You say, "This shouldn't be happening. It wasn't supposed to be like this. This isn't fair." But life doesn't bend for your expectations. It flows according to its own nature. The Stoics didn't fight reality. They aligned with it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Welcome every experience the looms of fate may weave for you." Acceptance is not defeat. It's discipline. It's recognizing that what is already here. You can either curse it or cooperate with it. You can resist it and suffer, or you can work with it and grow. The wise do not waste energy arguing with the moment. They use that energy to respond wisely to it. Even pain has its place. Even delay has its purpose. Even hardship can be a teacher. But you'll only see that if you stop demanding a different reality. Seneca said, "A good person dyes events with his own color and turns whatever happens to his advantage." What if you did that? What if you treated every moment not as an interruption, but as instruction? What if the setback was actually direction? What if the loss was shaping strength? This is what the Stoic knows. Reality will not always be kind, but it will always be truthful. And truth is the best place to build your life. So stop wishing things were different. Start working with what is. Because the moment you stop resisting reality, you start reclaiming your power. 6. Train yourself to pause. Between the trigger and your reaction, there is a space. And in that space lives your freedom, your power, your peace. But most people never find it. They go from stimulus to explosion in a heartbeat. Someone says something rude, you snap. Someone disrespects you, you retaliate. Someone criticizes. You defend, lash out, spiral. But the Stoic trains for this exact moment. Not with violence, not with rage, but with pause. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to say, "Is this within my control?" before he spoke, before he acted, before he allowed emotion to take the wheel. He knew. To pause is to gain the high ground. To delay is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. In that moment of stillness, you are no longer ruled by impulse. You are guided by principle. Seneca reminds us, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Even just one breath can save you from days of regret. Even a 3-second pause can protect your integrity, preserve your peace, and project unimaginable strength. Training the pause means training awareness, noticing the surge of emotion, but not becoming it. You are not your anger. You are the one watching your anger rise. And you are the one who can choose not to follow it. This is the Stoic edge. Not suppression, but self-command. So when the moment comes, when you feel the fire rising, don't feed it. Pause. And in that pause, decide who you want to be. Because that moment defines you more than any insult ever could. 7. Other people's behavior is not your responsibility. We spend so much of our life trying to manage what doesn't belong to us. Their anger, their opinions, their bad decisions, their reactions. But here's the Stoic truth. You are not responsible for how others behave, only for how you respond. Epictetus put it clearly. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. And here's the danger. When you start carrying what doesn't belong to you, you drop what is. You forget your values. You lose your calm. You become reactive, bitter, entangled. When someone lies about you, that's their burden. When someone lashes out at you, that's their failure. When someone treats you poorly, that reveals their character, not yours. The Stoic doesn't take the bait. They don't match energy. They maintain their energy.
Because peace is a full-time job, and you don't outsource it to the moods of others. Imagine a warrior in battle, but instead of fighting the enemy, he's picking up every arrow shot his way, trying to explain, defend, fix. That's what it looks like when you take on other people's behavior as your own. The Stoic? He lets the arrows fall. He keeps moving with dignity and direction. You're not here to manage others. You're here to master yourself. Let them be loud. Let them be wrong. Let them misunderstand. Your only duty is to not become like them. Because when you stay composed, when you rise above, when you choose principle over provocation, you win the only battle that ever mattered, the one within. 8. Reframe everything as a lesson. Most people see pain as punishment, loss as failure, betrayal as weakness. But the Stoic sees something else. A mirror, a message, a moment of growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That betrayal? It showed you who not to trust. That rejection? It pointed you towards something better. That heartbreak? It tore you open, so you could rebuild with clarity and courage. The average mind asks, why is this happening to me? The Stoic asks, what is this teaching me? Pain is not the end. It's a portal, but only if you walk through it with awareness. Seneca reminded us, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. This moment of discomfort, it is resistance training for your soul. And no, it doesn't always make sense at first. Yes, it will hurt. But wisdom never arrives wrapped in comfort. It arrives in trials, tension, and time. Reframing doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means refusing to let any experience be wasted. The Stoic transforms suffering into insight. They turn setbacks into standards, and wounds into wisdom. You can't control what happens, but you can extract meaning from everything. And in that choice, you reclaim your power. Because life will teach you, one way or another. The question is, will you let it? 9. Return to what's in your control. The root of frustration, anger, and worry lies in this simple truth. We try to control what is beyond our power. We fret about others' opinions. We stress over uncontrollable events. We cling to outcomes that slip through our fingers. But the Stoics knew, true peace comes when you focus only on what is in your control. Epictetus taught, some things are up to us, and some things are not. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, these are yours. Everything else, the opinions of others, the past, the future, the unpredictable twists of fate, are not. Anger and anxiety arise when you confuse the two, when you try to change the unchangeable, when you resist reality.
But peace blooms when you return to your own garden, when you cultivate your own mind, when you invest your energy where it matters. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack full of stones. Each stone is a worry over things you cannot control. Your steps are slowed. Your breath is short. Now imagine setting that backpack down, feeling the freedom in your body, the lightness in your heart. This is the Stoic path. Return to what you can govern, your judgments, your choices, your virtues. Let everything else go. When you live here, in this space of control, no one can steal your peace. No circumstance can rob your joy. You become unshakable, unbreakable, free. So remember, not everything is yours to steer, but your mind always is. You will never control the world, but you were never meant to do so. You were meant to control yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your interpretations, your energy. And once you do, no insult can shake you. No failure can break you. No storm can move you. The Stoics weren't gods. They were humans, just like you. But they trained daily to rule the only kingdom that ever mattered, their mind. So train, reflect, pause, let go, respond with wisdom, and above all, protect your peace. Because the one who masters himself can never be controlled by anyone. If this message reminded you of your power, share it with someone who needs it. Reflect on it. Practice it. Because anger is not strength, control is not weakness, and peace is a superpower. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. And remember, nothing can bother you unless you let it.